My home has been invaded by a creature. What I'm about to show you at home might be disturbing to some viewers. So if you are listening to the Double D Experience on audio platforms, you are good to go. But if you are listening on YouTube, which is where I know most of you do, you might want to avert your eyes, as my home has been invaded by an anomaly. Some type of creature, a beast. Are you ready for this? It's gonna be on screen. Da da da! It's Bear.
It's a dog.
It's a dog. It's a dogger.
From my people, dinner. For David's people, a companion you love and cherish.
Why'd you have to get immediately racist with it? Oh my god. Jesus H. Christ. No, this dog, you wouldn't be able to eat him. He's too smart for you. I'll tell you that right now. This is my sister's dog, Bear. He is staying with us during the week, as my sister is doing quite a bit of traveling and has some business to attend to on her travels. She just got this dog, got him from a shelter. So it's her second dog getting from a shelter because the first one didn't work out, but this one is her sole dog. And the reason being is because people who know me, we had a Bernese Mountain Dog back in the day. My angel Cassie, who we had to put down when she was 5 because she was sick. Berners are amazing dogs. They're smart. They're like humans in little dog bodies. They play with their paws. They talk to you. They sing to you. All this good stuff, right? But unfortunately, they have some health problems, so they don't live as long as a lot of other breeds. Bernese Mountain Dogs are some of the smartest dog breeds imaginable. Amazing at solving puzzles. Amazing at, like, tugging things. Just also knowing their name, knowing other people's names, their surroundings. You want to know what another really type of smart dog is, Dennis? What's the first type of dog that comes to your mind when you think of smart? That comes to most people's minds when you think of, like, a smart dog.
Smart dog.
Just take a guess. What is the stereotypical smart dog that you see on the cover of those magazines when you're in, like, the fucking, like, the supermarket and they're like, what the dog knows? And shit.
Border Collie?
That's the one.
Yeah.
This is a Border Collie Bernese Mountain Dog mix.
Dog's a genius, folks.
This dog is too fucking smart for his own good. And when I tell you that this little bastard has been stressing me out something fierce, and my whole family something fierce, I ain't lying. He's the sweetest little thing. I'll throw this picture up that I sent to you, Dennis, of like him just in my lap. I didn't put him in my lap. I didn't pull him there. He just mushed all over me and then like rolled over onto my lap.
Aww.
And was just like rubbing all over. When I come home, he hugs me, literally hugs me, and everything.
Aww.
He's the sweetest thing in the world, but this fucker is so high maintenance. My God. So I'm gonna tell y'all a little story that'll rattle your tits. Alright? This dog, when I was at work, at my new job, that I love so much. I don't. That's a lie. At my new job, this dog escaped from my parents twice. 2 times. Escaped so nice, had to do it twice. My man said the double D escapience. That was shit. I'm sorry.
That was pretty bad, man. Like, that was a fumble of fumbles.
Well, hey, at least I didn't fumble the dog like my parents did. What happened is that another thing about Bernese Mountain Dogs, they are strong. They are big, bulky dogs. They were literally bred by the Swiss to tug wagons full of cargo through the giant trudges of snow in the Alps. In, like, the mountains. That's what they were bred for, right? This fucker's got that literal dog in him, and then he also has the Border Collie smart in him. This dog has brains and bronze. It's scary, man. I even, like, as soon as my sister told us, like, he was a Border Collie Bernese Mountain Dog mix, I'm like, oh, he's gonna take over your life. Your life. And even having him for, like, literally 2 days. We've had him for 2 days so far. We have him for 2 weeks! And oh my God, it's stressing us out something fierce. He escaped from my father literally just by tugging at him. And I'll just keep it a buck with you all. My parents, not the most athletic people in the world. My dad eats like shit. He knows he has to lose weight. And he's just not a physically fit person with, like, multiple herniated discs and whatnot. And he also works to high hell as a workers' comp lawyer, visiting my grandmother in the nursing home, taking care of our family, doing all sorts of things. My mother, on the other hand, she's had all sorts of problems. She had a heart attack a few years ago. She had a fall where she fell flat on her face in New York and, like, injured her nose and everything. It was horrible. It was heart-wrenching. She's good now and whatnot, but she's also, you know, had, like, issues with weight. She had a gastric bypass surgery and lost a fuck ton of weight. All sorts of health issues, right? And both my parents just had COVID. So this dog is running away up the street, and my father has ran faster than I think he has ever run in his life up to this point, I should say, or at the very least at his current age. Both my parents in their 60s, right? My mom can't run. She's not, like, physically fit to be able to do that, nor is my father, who already has very bad lungs, growing up with a father who smoked Cuban cigars in a small-ass apartment growing up, already had shit lungs, and he just had COVID. And my man is running, like the Dickens, to chase this literal and metaphorical bear up the neighborhood, right? Eventually he catches him because this dog, I guess, you know, the burner side of him got a little winded, because Bernese Mountain Dogs, as they age, can get a little more winded just because they're bigger dogs, to just take a shit. And that's how my father was able to catch him. And my mom literally drove up the street in her car to catch up to him, to just put the dog back in the car. And that was only escape attempt number 1. Because this dog was ready to run them rounds. Round 2 came along a little bit later when they're just have him in the backyard. I guess my father was on his phone for a second. And whenever my parents did my parents had the house expanded a few years back, right?
Yeah.
You know, because it was a smaller house. They make really good money, and so they were able to expand it, right? Whatever, like, fucking contractor that they got to do the fence, he had to have been like fucking Finbar Calamitous or some shit, like from Jimmy Neutron, and just could never finish anything, even though he knew what he was doing. There's a tiny corner between my neighbor's fence and our back neighbor's fence where it's just like, yeah, you don't need any more fence there. We'll just stick up a fucking wooden, like, gate there to end the fence. I don't know how that went over my father's head. I was just a freshman in high school at the time. Not my goddamn problem. Bear rushes towards it, plows through it, and starts parading his little way through all the backyards and back rooms of all of our neighbors. And I know what you're thinking. Why contain this dog that doesn't want to be contained?
Why indeed?
I like to think, the thing is, it makes me sad because I thought maybe this dog just doesn't want to be a pet. But he was a shelter dog. He was given up before. Probably for these reasons of his insane free will. And it was heart-wrenching to me because my mother brought up the idea that, this dog is just like, he's so smart. He knows where he is, or like he's like always looking around to like see where he is and like learn about his surroundings and just wants to constantly explore. I feel like it's more of an exploring thing than anything else, but at first, dog's so humanistic, it was like he was searching for something. And my mom brought up the idea that maybe he was searching for his last family. And my heart sank when I heard that. Because the thing is, this dog, it's not like he doesn't want a home. He's so playful and talkative, and he hugs us and kisses us. He never wants to be alone. He follows me everywhere. I tried to take a shit before I walked him. And he followed me up the stairs. I'm like, Bear, stay down there. We're going for a walk. And he followed me up the stairs. Needed to make sure I was taking a shit okay. As soon as I shut the door, starts crying. Where's David? Where's David? And it's like, it's not that. The reason my sister got him is because as soon as she opened the gate, they did that Bernese Mountain Dog thing where they lean up against you as hard as they can.
Oh, yeah, like...
Yep. And they lean up against your body, and my sister instantly fell in love, knew that he was hers. And it's not that. It's like, this dog clearly, it's not that he doesn't want a home. He's very loving. He just doesn't like to be contained. This is what I mean when I say he's too smart for his own good, in that he wants to constantly explore. He knows there's more to the world than this, or more to the world than us. And I don't know if he's searching for something or something else, but it's like, it's the human's fault at the end of the day, right? Because I feel like when I watch this dog, it's like I literally think the left side of his brain is at war with his right.
Two wolves or two
Inside you there are two wolves. And there's nobody's fault but humans for just mixing and matching dogs. Because that's what we did as a species to dogs. We mixed and matched them with different breeds. And my sister just happened to get one that might literally be too smart and too strong for his own good. But he's so beautiful. He sings to us. You know, he eats his food. The thing is, my parents are just not strong or, like, capable. My mom's borderline disabled, I would say. So I'm the only one who could sort of walk him, right? Because I can actually pull on him to be like, nope, stop. Because even, like, when I was walking him today, before we started the Double D experience, he saw a bird on the ground. And before, he was so good on the walk. He was being so nice. He was being so good, letting him lead, letting him explore, letting him do his roaming thing without letting him be too much of a shithead. Yeah. He just saw a bird, and immediately he wanted the smoke, the violence. And he just was wrestling me to just get to that fucking thing. Walk up to that bird, and now that you're here, let me speak on this. Fuck you. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But even then, so why am I saying all this? The reason being is because we haven't had a dog in a very long time. Ever since Cassie was gone, we loved that dog so much. We were so heart-wrenching and heartbroken when we had to have her put down. That, we also just didn't want a dog for a very long time. It was also in the middle of COVID and shit. And then I've just, my mom's health being what it is, Not that she's the most unhealthy person in the world, she can work, she does her thing, she has her good days and bad days, she had a heart attack a few years ago, it's whatever. She's kicking, but it's still not up and high enough to the point where, like, she can, like, full-time take care of, like, a small creature like a dog. And my dad, with how often he works and whatnot, it's not the same thing. So I also
Bear's not a small creature, though.
Well, here's what I mean. It's just, like, I don't want a dog. I don't want one. Because at this stage of my life, I don't want that responsibility. I have to focus on myself and my grinds and my job and this podcast and other things and whatnot. To the point where I feel like it's holding me back. I didn't sign up to have Bear stay with us. My parents did. Yeah, I'm the one who's doing most of the shit where, like, I'm taking care of him and walking him and shit like that. My parents are taking care of him too, but like I said, they're not capable of walking him because he's too much of a rabble-rouser. Yeah. And what I mean by this is that I'm just trying to conclude this by saying, if you're going to get an animal, make sure you can take care of it. Make sure you're ready to take care of it. Don't just get one because you want one or if it's on a whim. And I'm so grateful that my family is smart enough for that. Because my father really, really wants a dog. He was wanted one for so long.
My dad's the one who's
going to... Yeah, he's the same way too?
Oh, yeah. My dad, he also wants a dog. I think there was a period of time, like, thing where... It was, like, a couple months back, I think. He was, like... before him and my mom went off to Korea, he was just like, oh, I want a dog. So we looked through, like, some adoption pages and stuff, and we was just so Koreans have one specific dog that's from their country called a jindoke. So it's kind of like it's kind of wolfish in its appearance, but it's still, like, looks like a lot of other domesticated, like, kind of dogs, like, out there. And our place is fairly confined, not fit for, like, a fairly bigger dog. Like, I think if Bear was in this house, like, he'd probably turn it upside down, like, immediately.
Bear is an apartment dog. He lives with my sister in Philly.
I don't think big dogs should be in apartments, TBH.
Well, he's not as like big. He's not as big as a burner. I will say that. Like, he's not like Cassie big.
But he's got, like, that big dog sort of, like, kind of brain. Like, he just wants to fucking move around. He literally, like, I think, it's no wonder that, like, like, those dogs in their natural habitats, which is, like, usually, like, up in the mountains and stuff. And, like, a lot of times, like, we kind of classically know them as, like, those dogs that would be part of, like, the rescue team. Because, like, they're just, like, that smart if you get lost up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And, for them... I don't know whose idea it was to think, like, oh, yeah, let's bring these down to a metropolitan city setting and just, like, kind of ignore the fact that these guys are literal, like, free roamers and, like, want to just, like, run the fuck around, like, for hours if they could. And, as far as, like, what I'm getting at is that, like, as far as humans go and, like, the way we kind of, like, feel as if we could, like, at least back then, like, we thought, oh, we could domesticate anything. until like, there were a few animals that they realized like, I don't think we're gonna domesticate this fucker.
Even the ones that they feel like they can, that are good with their handlers, they're not, the other types of humans are not allowed around them. Like there's this guy on like YouTube or whatever in these YouTube shorts that show up in my feed and shit where like he handles really wild animals and he plays with bears and like he literally plays with them and shit. That's a fucking bear, like an actual bear, not my dog Bear, like a bear. And like he just wrangles with them and shit. But if we've learned anything about bear, wild animals, AI, art, all these things that humans think they can tame and regulate, sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. Humans will always, just. If there's anything we've learned in the last couple of years is that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. But the people at the top will never admit to that. Point is, the reason I'm saying all this is because, like, my dad wants a dog really bad. He's gonna be the one who takes care of it the least. And my mom is not gonna be able to do, like, any of her things to it either because, like, they also both work. True. It wouldn't be fair to the dog because we all work, too. What is this dog's life gonna be? Just at home all the time when, like, they don't have agile parents to take care of it because my parents, they're not too old yet, but, like, they're aging. So, like, it's... I don't know. It's like it just wouldn't be fair to the creature. Maybe when my mom retires and they get like a nice docile one, they'll be able to do their thing because they should get one eventually. But as for now,
you need a smaller dog then. Not even like something that's a little bit more manageable. Like shit. Like at least something that won't like pull your mom like thing across the curb like thing if they get too excited.
In his defense, Bear is also still quite young, and Cassie, when she was a baby, was a nightmare. An actual nightmare. Yeah. Wrestling with us, pissing, shitting all over the place, eating the walls.
Ate the walls?
Ate the walls. She bit into walls. Some of the markings are still there, and we had to have them fixed like multiple times. She would literally try to eat into the walls.
Holy shit.
To the point where, like, even on her dog tag, like, my mom put a little Cassie quote saying, "I love to eat walls." And my mom literally said that if, like, Bear starts to do that, then we are moving from this house immediately because those dogs see or smell something in there that they're trying to get to. And whatever it is,
you don't want to know what it is either. Yeah. So
point is, I'm gonna be the one who's gonna have to take care of a dog more than anyone else. Even though my father or my mom would, even my mom knows this too, would be the ones who would want one, and that's just not fucking fair to me. Even I didn't sign up to have Bear stay with us, and I'm the one who has to walk him in this pouring rain because I'm the only one in my house who's physically capable of doing it. You know what I mean? My mom was like, "When are you doing this today? When are you doing that today?" and whatnot. And it's so annoying because when like you wake up in the morning and you have to like align your schedules with each other. That's the kind of thing you do with your wife when you have, like, a kid or what have you.
True,
when you come downstairs and you're hearing that shit from your fucking mom as, like, a 27-year-old man, you're like, fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I have to sacrifice so much of my time and my grinds and everything to get to a better place in my life for this. For as much as I love Bear, for something that I didn't even sign on to. We don't even know what we're going to do with him on Thursday. My sister has like a dog handling company that she used to work for, or like a small dog handling company that's going to have to probably take him in for a little bit because we're all going to be working. But point is that like just don't fucking get a dog or get an animal just because you think it's cool or like it's a trendy thing or whatever, or buying it from a pet store because you saw it like eye candy, like the latest fucking iPhone or some shit. Make sure you can take care of it. Because I love Bear. I fell in love with him so fast. When I walked in the door when my sister brought him home on Saturday night or whenever it was, he walked up to me nice and slow because he heard the door open because he didn't know who I was yet. And even after only knowing each other for like 5 seconds, he came up and he scooshed into my chest and just like started rubbing himself all over me, gave me a great big hug, and I cried because he looked just like her, Dennis.
Oh.
And
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
It got to me. Like, I fell in love with him instantly. It's not that I don't love Bear. We call him a little nightmare all the time. We wrestle with him. We, like, play with him and whatnot. It's not that we don't love him or don't want to take care of him or nothing. It's just that he's a high-maintenance dog. It's just a big responsibility that no one in my current household is ready for yet, you know? Or willing to do yet, because I'm the only one who could really take, like, good care of it by walking him. Because it sucks. It would be easier if we could just let him outside. But, like, we can't because he jumps over fences and literally tried to dig underneath the fucking gate as well and shit. But I'm going off on this too long. Point is that just...
Yeah, if you guys are going to get pets, like, just know, like, what's in store for you and what's in store for others if you're going to get them. Because I know, like, plenty of people who, like, they have dogs and, like, I kind of look at them and, I've seen small people have very big dogs, and this is not to say like, you know, I'm like dissing people like for their size or anything. It's just that like I find it so odd that like people who, you know, again, like aren't, let's say, like in the best physical shape either, like get really fucking big tanks of dogs, like a tank of a dog, and like somehow like, you know, I don't know for sure. It's like, okay, maybe they do take care of them well and everything, but it's like, you know, just the image of like, oh, a 4'2" like midget, like walking a fucking mastiff is like the funniest image in the world. In
like
my
you see
head
Peter
right now.
Dinklage just like walk up the street, right?
Yeah,
and then he has
like a Rottweiler.
he has this dog. Yeah, he has this Rottweiler, this big ass Rottweiler that's bigger than him. And then you like go to pet the dog, and like the Rottweiler's just like, bark, woof, arf.
One of
Like,
those, yeah.
Like he sounds like a human when he barks, just like bark.
He sounds like a prison inmate in a dog. Like, imagine that. It's like that kind of image. And like, you know, we've even seen like obviously like pit bulls and stuff, of course, like, you know, and like I don't know, it's like so weird because some people, you know, don't want to perpetuate stereotypes here too much, but you know, I've seen fairly like tougher looking dudes either have two kinds of dogs. Usually it's a pit bull, or two, it's a fucking rat of a dog. I see that so often.
If
and I just
if it's a
like
rat
to imagine,
dog, yeah, go ahead.
It's just because like their wife, you know, their wife wanted that dog in
Or-
particular.
Or they are a bear.
Yeah, that too.
They're a bear in
but that's what I'm
the
saying.
in the homosexual sense. You
It's
like,
like-
get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like they're like a big, like ripped, like dude or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But then they're like, they're
like,
gay,
yeah,
like
they're
one of those
like
gay
actually
ripped
like,
dudes.
yeah, they're like very like big softies inside. Like I know that, but it's just so fucking funny because it's like some of these dudes are like literal Dorito top heavy like looking guys, and they have like these little like small fucking rats of a dog
A little
that
rat
they could
dog.
fit on their hand.
Rat dog. Little rat dog. Rat dog.
You know, again, like as far as like dogs go, especially, you know, like they're very like empathetic creatures as well, and they need a lot of time, love, and care, especially in their younger years. I mean, like actually no, like not even in younger years. They just need time, love, and care like flat out throughout their entire life. Like they need also like depending on the dog, like a lot of space too. Like they need a yard, some of them, like just to like get the fuck out of the house and just run the fuck around and everything. And you need also like, depending on the dog, some high fences because these fuckers can jump. And, like,
Yeah.
As also like as far as like pets are concerned too, like I don't know, like I've had a couple of pets in my life, and I have to say, I did have a dog once. It wasn't my own. It wasn't like we got him from like a shelter or a pet store. We had a cousin of ours who actually he gave him to us, and he hated us immediately. The only one he liked, the dog, was Boo. I think it was a I believe it was no, not a terrier. It was like a Maltese. It was a small, like, you know, again, one of them rat dogs. But like, you know, he loved my dad. He loved my dad a lot. He hated like me and my siblings. We were fairly young at this point, and you know how kids are with dogs. The little shits, like, you know, they just don't really understand like how to handle a dog, like as far as 8-year-olds are, you know, are concerned. So like, you know, my dad, like just being like obviously the chill motherfucker that he is, like it's so funny too, because like my dad always had like a weird affinity when it came to like dogs, especially. I think when he was younger, before he moved out of Korea with his family, he always wanted a dog. So then like I think, and also my dad's like slowly, like, you know, he's getting older, and like, you know, midlife crisis and that kind of stuff is already slowly setting in, I think. And like, you know, my dad just kind of like, he just, you know, wants a dog.
You're gonna come home and there's gonna be a creature.
Yeah, because, you know, he eventually, fingers crossed here, especially in my case, not gonna be here. So, like, you know, as far as my parents are concerned, like, you know, when they're just by themselves at that point, like, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, they'd like a fucking, you know, something or someone just not of their own blood waiting for them at home. So.
I'm not gonna be here, and like a different context sounds so fucking, like, strange. It's like, because I'm gonna be dead.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. When Dennis comes over to play with Bear, and he does not know how to handle Bear.
Nah.
Dennis will he will be annihilated.
I think if it's anything like Cassie, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't Cassie mind. Didn't have no border collie in her.
Oh, that's fair too. But I actually knew, what was it? The place that I was working at a while back, we had a manager who he brought his border collie with him to work sometimes.
Yeah.
And he knew who he liked and he knew who he didn't like right off the bat. And it was so funny because, like, I kind of joked that I think the only reason why that he liked me was because I looked kind of like his owner. Because we both had glasses and we were both, like, Korean. Mm-hmm. So I joked, like, oh, he can't tell us apart or some shit like
Dogs are racist. No.
Because he hated everyone else that came through. Like, any time we would get, like, a delivery from, like, UPS or USPS, anytime he even saw, like, the mailman, he, like, got into attack mode immediately. And, like, there were times where even I had to, like, restrain him because, like, he was just, like, he bolted for them. And I was just like, and this was even before, like, I really started to go to the gym and everything. So, like, somehow, like, I had enough strength to stop that dog from, like, attacking fuckers.
Wow.
But, like, it was very, like, scary sometimes.
He really just, like, went for people every now and again?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was, like, and I even told my,
that is
my
a
manager,
literal hostile working environment.
Kind of, yeah. Because, like, I even told my manager at one point, it's like, you're going to have a lawsuit one day. You know that, right? Like, I was, like, being, like, just flat out with him because it's, like, unless, you know, because I think he was taking him to, like, was it Dog Academy or something? Like, you know, just kind of get him, like, trained and stuff when it came to stuff like that. He was doing it, but, like, it just wasn't working fast enough. Or at the very least, that, like, that tendency, like, almost never went away. So he just always was, like, and, like, just, like, ran after, like, anyone who he didn't recognize. Because everyone in the workplace he liked. He really did. But it was also really funny because now that I think about it, we were all Korean. So maybe this dog was, like, low-key kind of racist. Like, just kind of didn't like anyone else. But, you know, as far as, I guess where I'm getting at with that, it's, you know, again, guys, if you are going to get a dog, especially if you're going to get, like, a bigger dog that's not a goofy fuck like a golden retriever who, like, you know, isn't prone to, like, attacking anything that he sees or that moves. Just kind of know, like, you know, that as far as, like, you know, those kind of dogs are concerned, like, you know, you got to have, like, some time, love, and care to them and a lot of training. Like, a lot of training. It's just, like, you know, I don't know. Like, I've always
gotta do your research.
You gotta do your research.
You gotta do your research because dogs are very different. I had a golden and she was very docile and very fat and, like, pleasant to play with. And then I had Cassie, who was this. Before we had Sandy. Then we had Cassie, and Cassie was just this genius of a dog. Constantly talked to us. Very difficult to train early on, but as they age, they become way more docile and mushy and cuddly and whatnot. We definitely have that in Bear too. Like, he's got that burner side to him, but he's also very different. Like, all the dogs we've had are very different as we as dog people want them to be. We don't want dogs to be, like, exactly like our last one because it'll make us miss them a little too much, I guess, or something. But it's important to do your research. You know, dogs, just because you can buy them, that doesn't mean they're just, like, the latest iPhone or some shit. That's just, like, a new thing that you buy. Like, it's a living creature.
Some people view them as accessories, which I find, like, just kind of, you know, what the fuck, man? Like,
that's a man and a woman thing, too, by the way. When you think of that, you think of, like, women with the little shit dogs in their purse. Like the chihuahuas and shit.
Yeah.
The ones that just yip, yap, and nap at you and bite and are just these general little
shits.
Fucking failures of evolution. Like, on the part of humans, to be honest. Like, how did you go from, like, this wolf to this? And, but there are men who do that, too. There's the big bitches who want to be like, yeah, I have a big tough dog, don't fuck with me, who also, low-key, they don't even realize they have it as a fucking status symbol, too, even though deep down, they know that. You know, like, they have, like, this is Butch. And, like, and Butch fucks. I don't neuter my dog because I don't want my shit clipped either because my dog likes to fuck. Because he pounds, but it's the same thing as the woman having the little shit dog. It's just instead of toxic femininity, it's toxic masculinity. It's the same goddamn thing.
The thing is, though, I would love a pit bull just to confuse the fuck out of people. Like, I am not exactly, like, the toughest looking dude ever. Like, at least just off a glance from the sidewalk, you probably wouldn't think that. But then seeing that fucking pit bull would just, like, throw everyone for a loop. It's like, wait, what the fuck? Like, you know? Like, seeing, like, a tiny-ass woman, too, like, walking a pit bull is just, like, the funniest thing in the world. Because one yank and your face is on the fucking floor. Not even just that, too. Just small people in general. Like, at least small isn't, like, just not really athletic. Because, again, like, you know, you need to have, like, a certain level of strength for a couple of these dogs, because again, like these guys, like these dogs especially, yeah, like, you know, like the
case
one that's
point, Bear,
the one that's like, you know, flipping David's house upside down as we speak right now. You know, it's like,
no, he's actually very docile when he's here. He just loves to roam and loves to leave. But yeah, as far as what Dennis is saying, yeah, you got to be strong enough. Case in point, Bear. My parents aren't. And the thing is, when I tug Bear, like, and he, like, doesn't listen or whatever, like, you just gotta show him who wears the pants. Yeah. He's younger. And I literally told my dad, I'm like, honestly, big dude, big guy, it might be time to hit the gym. Like, that's what I fucking told my father. I'm not even kidding. And you might be time, if you gotta, like, pull him like this.
How did your dad take it?
Fuck you. Actually, yeah.
You know,
it's like, you want some penny vodka, asshole? That's what he said when we were eating dinner. Like, you know, in that way, Bear's not different than any other dog. Like Dennis is saying, you just got to make sure you're strong enough. You don't want to make sure you're a tiny person.
Just also know what you're getting into. Like, it's just one of those
tiny
things.
Woman with a pit bull, dude. Like, she wouldn't even be face down on the pavement. That would be like a Nickelodeon cartoon where, like, she's airborne. Like, she's airborne the entire time. Or it's like fucking Mario Kart Double Dash when you get hit by, like, a shell or something, and, like, the fucker in the back part of the cart behind you is, like, getting dragged on the fucking pavement. Somebody should make a realism mod for that game, by the way, where, like, they're dragging their knees across the pavement and there's just skid marks and blood, like, everywhere along the way. You know how painful that would actually be? What about DK? He's not wearing a shirt. He's wearing a fucking tie. That fucker gets dragged off the back of the cart. He gets back off that shit. His whole shit, like, on the front of him, is just gonna be like a giant-ass skid mark with an outline of where his tie was protecting him from the pavement.
Or, God forbid, if the tie gets caught in the wheel.
Oh, Christ.
Like, he's just dead at that point. Like, that would be a
really funny animation if somebody made that. Mario Kart Double Dash, the realism mod. Oh, Christ. Or some of those mods that they make of Luigi's Mansion that make the game, like, actually scary. Apparently there's a really big Luigi's Mansion modding community. I've watched some of those mods. They're actually pretty cool.
Just be careful of Nintendo, guys.
Oh, and why do they have to be careful of Nintendo?
I don't know, some emulator or something that shut down.
So, halfway through the app, we'll segue the topics now. I'll read this to you right now. If you're unfamiliar with what Yuzu is, it was some sort of service like this that you could use. You mod your Switch, you have Yuzu. I didn't do it, so I don't know too much about it. All I know is that, like, Yuzu is like the sort of Switch emulation thing, sort of, where you can emulate Switch games or pirate Switch games. You know, that's kind of what the issue was here, I suppose. As well as also just unlock some other potentials of your Switch. There's for the people who are terminally addicted to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I know a lot of people use Yuzu to play Smash Online because it makes it not dog shit. It, like, fixes, like, the input lag and, like, the latency issues and the online lag, the input delay, all that good shit, like, a lot of good quality of life stuff for the people who actually want good means to practice Smash Brothers online. Because, as we all know, Super Smash Brothers Wi-Fi is dog shit. It's always been dog shit. It'll always be dog shit. Probably. And just Smash, I don't know, just, you know, Nintendo Online has never always been the best. You need, like, to hardwire it to pretty much get anything. And even with hardwiring, it doesn't fix the game's native input delay. Apparently, Yuzu did a lot of that stuff. I don't know. It sounds like way too much work, even for if I regularly played Smash Ultimate to want to do that. There's so much modding and shit that goes on that you have to do to get decent practice. And then in Melee, they have the controller issues. It's all sorts of fucked, right? While we're talking about Yuzu, we were going to talk about it last week, but we didn't get around to it. We just talked about other shit. But this week, it's good we waited because
there's an update.
Because Nintendo shut that shit down.
And settled for $2.4 million.
That is what they did. Yeah. Here's what went down. Here's the message from Yuzu. They say, hello, users. called them users. Wow, that's cute. And Citra fans. We write today to inform you that Yuzu and user support of Citra are being discontinued effective immediately. Yuzu and its team have always... This is the interesting part, right? It says Yuzu and its team have always been against piracy. We started the projects in good faith, out of passion for Nintendo and its consoles and games, and we're not intending to cause harm. But we see now that because our projects can circumvent Nintendo's technological protection measures and allow users to play games outside of authorized hardware, they have led to extensive piracy, which it has. I know people who literally pirate every single game Nintendo ever makes because they have, like, actual personal vendettas against them. Like, believe me, I know, like, people do that. In particular, we have been deeply disappointed when users have used our software to leak game content prior to its release, which is also what Yuzu does. They get the games, like,
Tears
weeks in advance. Yep, that shit leaked way in advance. Yep. Prior to its release, and ruin the experience for legitimate purchasers and fans. And I know what the pirate people are going to say to that. Be like, oh, well, we can't support these game companies and their unethical practices and blah, blah, blah. And Nintendo supports this, and this company has a loose tie to this, which is has something to do with Palestine and whatnot. And or in most of the cases with this, it's like, you know, they just hate certain game companies and don't want to support their practices. And some of them do really shitty practices. But it's interesting, because Nintendo does shitty practices in a different way. But we'll get more on that in a minute.
Yeah.
We have come to the decision that we cannot continue to allow this to occur. Piracy was never our intention, and we believe that piracy of video games and video game consoles should end. Effective today, we will be... I don't know what the point of Yuzu was then. So effective today, we'll be pulling our code repositories offline, discontinuing our Patreon accounts and Discord servers, and soon shutting down our websites. We hope our actions will be a small step toward ending piracy of all creators' works. Thank you for your years of support and for understanding our decision. I feel like some of that is a little disingenuous in the sense that, like, you literally were being funded by Patreon for a service that could pirate Nintendo games.
Or at the very least, look, they were saying...
What the hell did you think was gonna happen, man?
But that's what I mean. That's why it is, like, I agree with you, hella disingenuous, because it's like, you know, this is, like, piracy, no matter how you were trying to frame what the intention was of your project of Yuzu, it was gonna be a byproduct of it. Like, piracy, it was gonna be a byproduct of it regardless. Like,
yeah.
I've heard so many times where, like, you know, people say, like, okay, I too emulate games. I too even use Dolphin because I am not gonna fucking drop money for a GameCube. But again, though,
which is an ethical practice, because if you're emulating games that they do not fucking sell anymore, that is not piracy.
So it's like, you know, one could even argue, it's like, well, maybe Yuzu could have maybe, you know, waited to be incepted into someone's brain until after the Switch 2 came out, but I almost still feel, again, like, because that announcement's coming soon, guys, the Switch 2 is probably gonna still be, like, just still on the Switch platform. Like, you know, not that it's gonna be, like, a whole new, like, ecosystem. It's just gonna be Switch plus more.
It's gonna be a backwards compatible, like, Switch
exactly.
that has, like,
it's gonna be a new and improved Switch, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna have a new look and everything, but it's still just gonna be, in essence, a Switch, but just better. So, like, I guess, moving on, though, like, as far as, like, this whole thing goes, and, like, kind of just even putting our 2 cents in it, because it's like, again, we're not lawyers. We don't, for me, and I'm just kind of looking at it, like, less from a bit, less from a law and legal perspective, but more so just kind of, like, you know, just seeing for what all of that, like, Yuzu, like, is. It's, you know, I think it's very naive also of them if like, let's say, if their intentions, like, were genuine and that, like, look, like, you know, we never made this for piracy. You cannot tell me there wasn't any part of yourself in the back of your mind that was telling yourself that, like, but others could, you know, like, others could use it for piracy. And, you know, lo and behold, like, they did. You know, I already knew about, like, Citra and even Yuzu, like, for a while now. I never used it just because, like, I think when it came to emulation, I always just kind of, like, for me personally, like, I always just only used it when, like, again, like, as David said, like, it was for games that, like, are just not on shelves anymore, like, i.e., like, GameCube games.
Like, it was egregious when the Big House thing happened in the middle of COVID because they were shutting down Slippy because they're just like, hey, it's a way to fucking you know, like, this is not the way to play Melee. It's on unofficial hardware when there was literally no fucking way to play the game with each other in person because it was the middle of COVID, and also to play the game, and also just to, like, play the game and run tournaments during that time. And there was also no way to actually purchase Melee on, like, updated hardware. That's why I say whenever, like, it's a game that Nintendo is actually selling, then yeah, you know, say what you will about piracy and, like, ethical practices and whether it's ethical to steal from, like, a corporation or not. That is technically stealing because it is a product that they are selling and you are getting it for free through this service.
Yeah, and you are hurting their sales. That is piracy. As well. Yeah.
And, like, Nintendo's Nintendo, they're gonna be fine, but that is still technically piracy. When Nintendo flips out about other means of emulation, like, I think, the Picross game that was on the DS, or, like, some of those, like, mobile, like, Picross games, there is literally no fucking way to play those games legally, quote-unquote, legally. They're not on Nintendo's updated eShops. They shut down their fucking old eShops.
Yeah.
Because they want you to buy the new things instead. You go to our new eShops, which doesn't have all the shit that's on their old ones. When there's literally no other way to play those games, that's the kind of shit that makes people hate Nintendo, because it's like, okay, do you really care about game preservation? No, you want less of this stuff, so you buy their new stuff instead.
Yeah. Which
to the modern consumer, you know, or like to normal consumers who don't pirate these things, yeah, I suppose that's the case. But as, you know, fucking, what's his name? Gabe Newell always says, piracy just means there's a demand for a service. That's what that means. And if you're just fighting against that grain because you're trying to force your consumers to buy the things you want them to be, the only thing that's sort of hurting your sales is not like, oh, well, I can't pirate this. I guess I'll just pay $60 that I wasn't clearly willing to spend in the first place on a modern Nintendo game because I couldn't legally steal this one from them. Not to mention, like, the whole cloud storage game thing, you know, like, all that bullshit that a lot of Western game devs are doing where, like, they could pull a game from a store that you literally purchased and you don't get your money back. And to that, I say the age-old notion that, if buying a game is not owning it, then piracy is not stealing. That is when piracy is literally the most ethical thing to do. In this case, though, it's a case of Nintendo being as archaic as they are, because a lot of the cases of piracy against them, believe it or not, they are in their realm of right to shut down.
Yeah, they are.
But a lot of them, they are not. And in this case,
it is. They are.
It kind of is. They're literally, what was the purpose of Yuzu besides, like, fucking piracy, or the Smash mod, where, like, it lets the game actually be playable online? If it's, like, for just quality of life improvements and they're shutting the whole shit down, and then Nintendo just doesn't fix their shitty online services, then yeah, you know, whatever, that kind of sucks. But if, like, the main thing people were using it for was to download games weeks in advance, which I know for a fucking fact people do.
And I'm pretty sure even a lot of you guys did as well. Like, don't lie to me.
It's, you know, you gotta admit that is actually in their realm to be able to do. Not to sound like a bootlicker. I don't want to be like a guy like defending the big old corporation. Yeah.
Legally speaking, they're in the right, is all we're saying. And, you know, even for me, like, you know, as far as like Nintendo goes, it's like, oh yeah, like I'll buy your products. I still fucking hate you. It's just like one of those, like, it's like one of those things, you know?
It's not like, free from criticism,
Yeah, like people even will argue, it's like, oh, well, you know, you're still like a Nintendo bootlicker. It's like, okay, sure, fine. You guys still buy the same games too. Where was this whole bootlicking statement when like Scarlet and Violet came out and people were still defending that piece of shit? You know, I don't give a fuck. Like, I know what I'm saying. And, you know, as far as like Nintendo goes, it's like, it's so weird because they could have, I almost feel like, had a way worse punishment for Yuzu, because, like, you know, it wasn't like, I mean, one could argue it's not like the same with how Bowser, that dude, I think is straight up in jail and like he still has like a huge fucking like sum to pay to Nintendo, like for like all the shit that he
it was either that or Yuzu like goes through endless lawsuits with Nintendo, probably winds
so
up
they
owning
just ended
more
up
money.
settling
This is them just like backing off, settling. If anything, they got out of this lucky. You remember the fuckers that were like, you remember the fuckers that were like, had a whole business just selling modded Switches? And Nintendo literally said, we're taking this percentage of your salary for the rest of your life or some shit. Yeah. You remember that shit? That shit was insane. And that was the kind of stuff that they used to try to send a message. This one's the same thing. And a lot of these practices say they're unethical and their punishment is true. I think the bigger loss is not Yuzu, but Citra. You remember the beginning of this? They said there's Yuzu support of Citra is being discontinued. Citra is the one with all the fucking emulations of games that Nintendo doesn't sell anymore. And
3DS, guys.
And they shut that shit down too. And that's shitty. Because they don't even sell those games anymore.
And it was taken offline as collateral.
Yeah.
Collateral, guys. Not even part of the main thing.
It's taken down as collateral for a reason because Nintendo knows they actually don't have any legal right to do that. They get legal right to do that when they get these companies that are fucking stupid as hell and pirate their new shit that Nintendo actually has the legal right to come in and swoop, and that's when the litigation starts, you see. And that's when Nintendo can get the ball rolling to get, like, more damages for this other shit that normally isn't even illegal for them to do to grab it. Who knows what they're planning for later on down in the future? What is that fucking meme I sent you with the other one? Today it was this, and then tomorrow it's gonna be Ryu Jinx. There's gonna be that one too. Ryu Jinx. Nintendo's just like, got his ass, got his ass.
How much is
we corpos do this? We do this, boy.
How much are, like, 3DSs nowadays?
I don't know, but like modding 3DSs is mad easy and it makes complete and total sense to do it. I'm just fucking lazy. I played Five Nights at Freddy's on my friend's fucking 3DS. Bro, and it ran so stupidly. It was like glitched too, where like I died to like the Freddy end of night jump scare at like 3 a.m. It was bullshit, bro. But yeah.
Bro, I literally like tried to put in homebrew. I bricked my shit. To get a new DS.
You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful with that, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this is the thing that's shitty, like, because, like, Nintendo just finds their way to, like, it makes me think is, like, what Nintendo is trying to do to, like, you know, it's kind of like a conspiracy theorist, right? You know what conspiracy theorists do? When, like, they'll rally off a conspiracy theory that's valid, they'll, like, talk about the Epstein shit, or be like, Hollywood is corrupt for this reason, or it's, like, defending pedophiles and whatnot, and then they'll try to segue that into a pipeline down to being like, see, the lizard people are real. That's basically what Nintendo's doing here. They sue a company that they actually have the legal right to sue. Again, I'm sorry, Yuzu, what the fuck did you think was gonna fucking happen? With, like, you know, I know you didn't intend for piracy. When you gave it this, like, compatibility, this feature, people were gonna... Come on. Is it a buddy system? Like the fucking alcohol vending systems in Japan? That shit's not gonna work here, bro. Like, it's not gonna work here.
Open the door just a bit. You just essentially, like, open the floodgates.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Bear. Like, if you leave a door even slightly cracked open in my house, you know he's gonna budge his ass through it.
Or plow through it.
Yeah,
bro, literally,
like he did the gate.
He told me he plowed through it.
He plowed through a gate. He plowed through a fucking gate. He tries to push it down with his hands. He's so smart. He leaps over fences, too.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, this dog's built like a fucking, like, Jeep. Like,
Bear will find a way to pirate. That is what I'm saying. Yeah. He will find a way.
We're saying the public is like Bear. You can't give them an inch at all. Otherwise, like, they're just gonna, like, you know, you give them, it's like that example of, like, give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile.
Imagine if Bear wasn't clipped. He would be so aggressive. Holy shit. Another reason for his aggression is that he's also a bear dog, a boy dog. You know, we my family's never had a boy dog. They call him her all the time. We misgender this dog constantly. It's so stupid.
To be fair, with at least just going back to Yuzu and everything. You know,
yeah, please. I'm sorry.
I cannot, like, you know, understate just how naive, or if it is either a mix of naivete or just fucking, like, just, like, you know, just one of those examples, like, well, the intention was there. Just backfired. Like, in your face. It's like, it wasn't meant for piracy. Look what happened. It was meant for piracy.
And everybody just like fucking like floods it on Twitter too and shit. Like, we use Yuzu for this and that. Like, do you think these people aren't gonna see it? You're on social media, you dipshit. God, also, you know, the thing is that, you know, and I will say the unethical thing is that Nintendo, like I said, to end my conspiracy theory remark, is that, like, they use it as, like, a segue to the next thing that they're not allowed to do, really. But then they become allowed to do because then it gets lost in the litigation. Oh, we'll settle for this if you take down Citra too, and then we'll settle for the settlement instead of literally ruining your ass like we this company are able to do, as we've done before. That's the shit where they flex their fucking giant Nintendo dong everywhere. Like, hey, we're a top 3 company in Japan that will get bailed out if anything happens to us. We run this fucking country, basically.
Yeah.
That's the shit where, like, it's shitty. It's not Nintendo takes down piracy websites that, like, are pirating their current games. I'm not trying to be a bootlicker, but that Nintendo's in their full right to do that.
Yeah, again.
And I guarantee if you had a product that people were stealing in that way and didn't support you at all,
you wouldn't go after them?
Usually you'd be the same way unless you have some other reason for wanting it to be spread free. But when they use it as a segue to just go against fucking game preservation, which Nintendo has made it so abundantly clear they don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
That's what fucking sucks. That's what makes people hate you. Like, why'd you have to take Citra? You're not selling the fucking 3DS, man.
Or the GameCube.
Or the GameCube, but that's the scary thing. If they come for Dolphin, that shit's gonna trend on Twitter for like 2 weeks. That shit's gonna that Dolphin's not gonna go down clean. I will tell you that right now.
I was even thinking too, like they probably like Dolphin has probably, I feel, maneuvered themselves so well at this point that like they know that no matter what, like you can come after us all you want, but like, you know, we'll be fine. Because I think their argument will be that, for one, your shit is not on shelves no more. I think they will be in trouble if they ever decide, oh, Nintendo's like, we're gonna make a GameCube Mini, and then Dolphin's like, fuck shit.
Like, these people were goofy as hell for having a Patreon.
That too.
You guys are dumb. I'm sorry, but that was so stupid. What did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't your intention, man, like
we
said it 5 times already. And again, I know I'm not. I've literally met like the most like as somebody who's worked for Nintendo seasonally, I have met the most like Nintendo bootlickers in the world. Like ones like some nerdy ass kid wouldn't leave me alone doing my job, like merchandising the shelves, and literally bowed to me when he found out I worked for Nintendo. He bowed to me in the middle of a store. I've met people like that. The ones who are like, all emulation is theft, blah, 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 all that stupid bullshit. And then I also know other people who fucking pirate literally everything Nintendo does, even when they're not in the ethical or moral right to, just because they hate the company so much. Which, you know, Nintendo has done some shit, whatever. I think it's more ethical to pirate from a lot of Western game devs, the one who, like, take the games off, like, the virtual store bases that you don't own anymore, but then they don't give you your money back when you don't own them anymore. Like, all that unethical shit. That's a whole different ballpark, man. But, like, I just don't... the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm in the middle. I don't want to sound like I'm fucking against emulation, because I'm not. I've emulated games before. We fucking all have. Yeah. But I'm also not full on, like, steal everything from company ever. I don't know.
Just some closing thoughts here. So, for one, I just looked up. Dolphin does not accept any kind of donations. And they said we probably never will either. So, if anything, good on them for doing that, because, you know, it proves that, like, hey, we're not doing this for profit. And, like, you know, we're, at the very least, like, it kind of, like, leaves another, like, avenue of attack for Nintendo to go after them, if they ever did. But, number two, you know, as far as, like, you know, all this is concerned as well, like, I think it is sad, I think, because, again, when it comes to game preservation, again, like, for especially the Nintendo 3DS, I think, you know, for one, I think we could all kind of agree that Nintendo probably will never release another 3DS, like, ever. Like, there's no reason for them to do so. The Switch is the 3DS, they'll even argue. Like, that is our 3DS, and that is also our home console. We've managed to put both of them in one. So it's like, why the fuck would we ever, you know, spend the R&D money to make, like, another 3DS? Like, why? And, you know, it's, as far as, like, you know, Nintendo being especially, like, a business, of course, like, they're just gonna obviously want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And, like, you know, just going forward, if anything, is what I'm saying. Like, they just want to, like, you know, continue to innovate and stuff. And definitely when it comes to, like, a lot of their older stuff, there is an appreciation for it a bit, but not so much where it's like, we gotta preserve this now. Like, almost in a time capsule-y sort of attitude. It's really never that with Nintendo, as we've seen, like, for many years, at least. Like, you know, it's just never been the case. And, you know, as far as, like, again, you know, how I especially feel about even, like, how virtual, like, platforms are, like, you know, like Steam and a few others. It's like, okay, yeah, you have the game, but do you own it? And you really don't. You don't own shit. And I know, like, I'm not even saying, like, Steam is, like, a perpetuator of this, but I'm saying they're still a part of it, though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know, like, because I know there have been some CEOs that have come out and straight up said, gamers will own nothing down the line. And that is very much true, going forward. And it's the reason why that, like, if I could, I would buy hard copies. But for PC games now, that era is over. We don't have hard copies of anything. No one even has a fucking disk drive to install their games anymore, because we don't need a disk drive. The whole trend was and has been that, we just buy it off of Steam and download it. Which, again, I don't, I know that is the wave, but there is still, like, that part of my brain that, like, just kind of screams, like, you don't own shit. You don't own these 375 games that are in your library. You don't own shit. And ownership, of course, is, I think, slowly becoming, or the lack of ownership has slowly and surely become, like, a very big deal for a lot of people, because, for one, for let's say especially a lot of those guys that have, like, those expansive DVD collections, or even DVD collections or game collections, that shit's not going anywhere. That shit's there forever. And, like, that's preservation right then and there. There's even some museums, like, all about, like, video games where, like, they literally preserve, like, all this stuff. And I mean, if you ever been to even, like, the it used to be the Pokemon Center, but now it's, like, the Nintendo I think the Nintendo World in Manhattan. If you go over there, like, they literally have, like, a lot of the past consoles. It's like a little history of, like, Nintendo and, like, where their origin started to all the way to where they are now. And, like, there is, like, that bit of appreciation, but I almost like to think it's more just fluff, really, more than actual appreciation, because I even like to think that, as far as, like, where video games are nowadays, it's like, it's getting to the point where we'll need, like, an actual, like, museum one day to kind of really show our appreciation for all this stuff, because of the fact that, for one, again, it's just become such a big industry now than what it was, like, let's say 40 years ago. More like back then, it was just more seen as, like, a niche kind of nerd thing that, like, people did and play. But now it's just become, like, its own industry, even rivaling, like, that of guys like Hollywood and stuff. Games, like, in the way that the budgets are nowadays, are so fucking huge that, for one, it's kind of fallen into that same trap of a lot of big budget movies where it's like, oh, look, we got all this money to make this game, but a lot of times they end up making it into shit. So, like, it's not even that, like, the money helps either sometimes for the creative process. It really doesn't.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Remember when we were talking about the indie games doing way better than a lot of these big budget, like, first party titles that just...
Helldivers, Pal World, bunch of others, yeah.
Lethal Company,
They've all proved themselves that, money does help, obviously, of course. I'm not saying that it doesn't, when it comes to that whole, like, creative process. But at the same time, though, it's like, this is passion mostly that's, like, carrying these titles, and they're not even, like, AAA games. And again, going just a little bit back to, like, how AAA games nowadays are kind of shit nowadays, and it also just even more expensive for no reason. Like, people, are literally shoveling hand over fist, like, $70 to play a game that's not even finished, or that's not even good to begin with. Like, COD players, I feel sorry for all y'all, really. Like, just going back to that again, I'm sorry. Halo fans, too, have been fucked since, like, Infinite even came out. It's not even finished. Like, it took years for it to finish. And, like, but, Microsoft just said, no, just, like, get that shit out the door now. Same thing with Cyberpunk. We've seen it time and time again where it's like, look, all these studios have just let us down. And, even Nintendo and Game Freak have let us down. Scarlet and Violet, just look at that. First fucking month of it releasing, it was shit. It was dog shit. And this is what I'm saying now, that, like, it's a shame that, like, Yuzu and even Citra, I think specifically Citra, I feel so bad that was taken down, because, for one, again, it's like, okay, one could argue you could just buy a 3DS on eBay and stuff, and, like, just play your 3DS games from there. 3DS games, like, they're still end of life. They're still end of shelf too. Like, they're gone. They're not, you can't buy them anymore. I even thought for one time in my life that, like, 3DSs were going to stick around forever. Was not the case. Like, because eventually when I saw the Switch come out, I'm like, oh, we automatically knew what that meant. And, like, as far as, like, where we are nowadays too, there's no reason for Nintendo to ever make a handheld like that ever again, because they realized, we could just combine the both of them together, and that's it. Like, we solved it. We don't have to spend more R&D money for another fucking ecosystem. For what? And I think even for them, it's probably even better because, like, for even the studios too, they have less things to kind of worry about now. It's like we just only have to worry about putting it in one platform and that's it.
Make more money than they ever have to, even just producing one console. That's why I really don't even feel bad for Yuzu, because apparently they were leaking ROMs on that, like, and even making, like, notifications of it and whatnot, and allegedly there were Nintendo ninjas in that Discord just watching it all unfold. Apparently.
Damn.
It's like, even like people on Twitter I'm reading, which, Twitter not a real place, of course, different discussion. Even they're saying, like, really, like, it's understandable that this happened to Yuzu. But Citra is the one that, like, they seem to really all be, like, heartbroken about. Like, because Citra is just about game preservation. That's a different thing that's actually important. Them just, like, nuking that is like, we don't want you to do our old shit. Remember our old shit, buy our new shit. And if our new shit isn't available on the market, that means you're more likely to buy our new shit. That's just capitalism is what they're doing there. And they, like, try to, like, milk into their legal right for something that is not even illegal, which emulation is not, especially for games that are not being sold anymore. So, yeah. But that's why it's a different story. Like, Yuzu did this to themselves. I actually don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for them at all. Like, all the people who are saying, like, fuck Nintendo, constantly shutting shit down, blah, blah, blah. Y'all should do your research on that, because you might just be, like, a mindless drone. No offense, but, like, just... There are mindless Nintendo drones, but there's the opposite of Nintendo drones as well, where they hate everything that a company does, and they just don't even understand why at a certain point. Me and Dennis are explaining to you why. At the very least, our reasons for, like, hating, like, differentiating what Nintendo was in their legal right to do, and the things that they're just being fucking dicks for.
Yeah. Which we've talked about before as well. Like,
many times, yeah.
So, I guess, case in point and in conclusion, like, as far as, like, all this goes, it is unfortunate. And, I'm also at least happy that, at least in Dolphin's case, who everyone knows Dolphin, everyone knows that emulator. And I'm also very happy that, at the very least, they've taken steps to kind of protect themselves from any sort of legal action, which is, like, no donations and stuff like that. But I almost feel the moment Nintendo decides, like, oh, if we decide to make a GameCube Mini, it's kind of over for them. Or... Maybe.
Hey, what does Gabe Newell always say? Like, the easiest way to stop piracy is not by putting anti-piracy technology to work. It's by giving those people a service that's better than what they're receiving from the pirates.
And Switch Online's not it.
Switch Online's not it because they're very finicky with what games they choose to put on there. They release it at an inconsistent date. The NES and the SNES Mini both have only 30 games on them each of what they pick to be the best. Donkey Kong Country 2 is not on the SNES Mini. That is one of the best platformers of all fucking time, and it's not on that shit. That's actually crazy. Oh, but DKC1 is, it's basically the same game. Let's put that one. Like, and, like, so to say that that's not even the better technology, but the thing we need to really focus on here is that Yuzu opened the floodgates for Nintendo to, like, take down other piracy ROMs. And they need, Yuzu opened Yuzu opened the floodgates for Nintendo to go after other sources of emulation. Now they're just waiting for a chance to, like, pounce on companies like Ryujinx and Dolphin when they get the chance. And there's literally people tweeting that what we need to do is just go back in time and just stop Yuzu from ever making a fucking Patreon. Yeah. If anything, they went behind our backs doing that. Well, not my back, because I don't pirate anything. I didn't pirate my Switch or even mod my Switch, really. Yeah. Though I do have my old one, and I upgraded to the OLED because Nintendo sent me the OLED, so, like, I actually could do that.
Keep it. Let's go.
And it's the older model too, so I actually could do that if I wanted to, but I just don't want to learn how. I'm fucking lazy, and I also don't have too much of a reason to, really. So, my point is that as far as game preservation goes, Yuzu, by modding these, like, ROMs and having a Patreon for it, they kind of went behind the consumers' backs for that one and, like, opened the floodgates. It's still Nintendo's fault for, like, using this lawsuit as a way to just come at Citra unethically, rather than just, like, being, like, just using Yuzu as, like, a segue to it. But at the same time, you kind of let that happen.
And that's
was Yuzu really supposed to be about quality of life improvements, and then people really just took it to pirate when in the Yuzu Discord there were people leaking ROMs? Really? Really?
And the ninjas were just, like, looking with binoculars inside, like this.
Scanning for ROMs. ROM detected. ROM must be exterminated.
Hunted, killed, kill.
Got his ass. We corpos do this.
We do this, boy.
We do this, boy.
But if anything, guys...
Yes, I'm him. I'm really him.
Nintendo really says that. It's like, we're him. We're really him.
We're really him. Oh, what are you reaching for? The ROMs of Tartarus? I'm going to need those ROMs, fuckboy. No, not my ROMs. No. Oh.
But guys, I think this will be
Is that the 3-switch beating?
This will be our
Nintendo, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I got a little carried away.
I was like, damn, is he gonna... he's going.
I'm sorry for user. Okay, that's enough. We're done.
We are done for today.
Check out
I guess
these
it was a bit of a... It was a bit of a somber episode, I suppose. But
no, it wasn't.
Yes.
No.
I think it was like if anything, it was a good discussion. Because I think y'all need to differentiate, like, you know, for one, what is a shitty move, and what, for one, something that is within someone's legal right to do. So
and piracy versus ethical piracy. Because there is very much such a thing as ethical piracy. And some companies will be like, yo, fucking steal from these assholes. Do it. Do it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not necessarily encouraging that, but there are reasons where it is sometimes ethical. And that's what me and Dennis are trying to say. And if this emulation, quote unquote, is piracy, so I can't fucking play Luigi's Mansion if you don't want to spend $500 to get a physical copy as well as purchase the old hardware and whatnot, yeah, you know, game preservation is important. So it's something to think about. And Nintendo going against game preservation is just them wanting you to buy their new shit instead. Buy whatever you want.
But unlike Nintendo, we would like to preserve your viewership with us. Here are our plugs. That was such a terrible fucking segue.
You've done worse.
It was so ham-fisted. It's like, unlike Nintendo.
No, that was good. Don't beat yourself up for it. There wasn't too much to work. There wasn't too much to work with there. You're like punching yourself like, I do this, boy.
I only kill me. So,
yeah. Go for
Here's
it.
our plugs, guys. You can find us on youtube.com/Nintoonist. Like and subscribe, and tell David how our viewership for last episode was down because you didn't put a Helldivers character.
Yeah, that's my bad. That actually is my bad. I'm sorry.
Don't stand for freedom, this dude.
I'm starting a new job, all right? I was giving up my own freedom and democracy at the time. I'm sorry, guys.
You know what it's called, though, in Helldivers? It's called managed democracy.
Wait, what?
It's called managed democracy. The democracy that they spread.
That's such a fucking fascist term. Like, you guys are still a democracy. It's just under new management.
But, of course, you could also find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify as well. You know, you guys been showing 5-star reviews. You can leave us that, improve our SEO and all that shit. Google also seems to be doing some real fuck shit with local SEO engines. So just, you know, something to keep in mind as well. Little current events for you guys there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today. And I hope y'all got clickbaited by our thumbnail of Bear and David. Wholesome shit ever. Click on it. Send us them views, you unwholesome piece of shit. What's up with you, huh? You don't like dogs, huh? What are you?
You don't like dogs biting a switch?
Are you like an emotionally inept retard? Sorry. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, we're just gonna go now. I think Dennis needs a timeout.
I need to go to the gym. Bye.
Me too. Peace out, guys.
Bye.